And I loved that, and I loved seeing how telling a story could have a tangible impact. Tell a story, raise X amount of money, that money went to the charity to actually supporting people. They all said, show up, just keep showing up in front of the right people, prove that you're willing to do whatever it takes to be a journalist. My workload built up so quickly that I couldn't keep up with what I was doing.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the How to Become podcast. We're your hosts, Adam Powell and Harvey Rivers.
Today, we're joined by an awesome person who we've actually been doing a bit of work with recently. She is a TEDx speaker. She's Forbes under 30 semi-finalist and the founder and CEO of Infix Creative Studio. Today, we're joined by Niamh Sullivan.
Ooh, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
That's a good tagline. That's a good description, isn't it?
The pressure's on now. You've made me sound like this big thing.
We'll clip it up and get it sent to you for that one.
Yeah. Can make it my LinkedIn little sound.
Yeah. It feels like forever since we've been sat back here.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. I reckon it's been a few weeks since we last recorded. Oh, no, actually, for the listeners, we record every week and release every week, don't we?
We'll be a bit rusty. But before we dive in, for people that don't know what you've done and then what you do right now, give us a rundown of what keeps you busy at this point in time.
Sure. So what keeps me busy the majority of the time is my business, which is Infix Creative Studio. We're a creative agency that mostly works with startups and scale-ups, and our job is really to help them define what their story is and then bring that to life through the full creative agency suite of services. So we're working across branding, strategy, content, and websites predominantly, and those clients are based all over the world. So we have lots of fun working with lots of different clients. Outside of that, I do a little bit of speaking as well. So that's keynote speaking, workshops. As you mentioned, I did a TEDx speech last year. And then I do some speaking for charities that are sort of close to my heart.
Awesome.
Charities like Make-A-Wish Australia.
How did the TEDx speech come around?
That was an interesting one. I've always been speaking. I've been doing that keynote speaking since I was I think my first speech I was 12 or 13. So it's been a while that it's been happening. And I always had it as something sort of on my vision board. One day I want to do a TED Talk. And last year I just had somebody reach out from TEDx in Perth actually, offering me a position at their session in November last year. And then I kind of just went from there.
Yeah. How does it work on the day? Like, do you get given like a kind of topic of what they want you to cover, or it's like you've got free run?
So every TEDx event has a theme. Our theme was mosaic. So pretty much you could talk about anything. It was kind of like the mosaic of life, all different aspects and how that, comes together to create the lives that we all live. Then what you do is once you've been selected, you submit a topic and a speech outline, which gets approved by the TED office, which I believe is in New York. Once that's approved, you write your speech. You've got 14 to 18 minutes to talk, and you go from there. You have to fully memorize everything. There's no teleprompters, nothing on the day. You can have slides, but they don't recommend it. So really, it's just you and that crowd for 14 to 18 minutes on stage.
I get the feeling that you're quite cool, calm, and collected. Was that the feeling when you were doing it as well? Because I'd be absolutely bricking it.
Yeah.
I was actually a little bit nervous just because usually when you're speaking, you've had some time to prepare, you know what you're talking about, and, whatever happens, happens. But I felt like this was sort of you're a speaker, you're doing a TED Talk. It's really, the pressure was on. So I did feel a little bit nervous, but as soon as I started talking, you remember that, no one in this crowd knows what I'm going to say. So if I mess up, no one knows.
Yeah. Who else was speaking on the day? Anyone we might know of?
There was people from all different walks of life, really. So there was a woman that has started a charity that works for encouraging women in sport in Perth.
Awesome.
There was a disability advocate. There was a personal coach. So, really people from all different areas and from different places across Australia as well. It wasn't just people from Perth.
Stupid question. I didn't know there was a crowd. There's actually a crowd in the studio.
There is a crowd, and it does actually make it a lot easier. Otherwise, you're just talking to an empty room. So it's an event that they host them on the Gold Coast, Sydney, everywhere. You can buy tickets to go, sit in the crowd. And as a speaker, I'm very grateful that they do that.
So I think Harvey's brought this up because his dream is to be a public speaker. So I think he's going to be asking you for a bit of an intro.
Yeah,
what would you speak about, mate, if they called you up?
Mate, how to become a failed footballer, how to become a rookie recruitment agency owner. We'd get a few of them in there. Jeez. Oh, and amateur CrossFitter as well.
Not amateur, mate.
Covered all bases. It's 3 TED Talks ready to go.
Yeah, all right. I'm in.
So before you got to where you are today, Niamh, where did it all start for you? Because your story is quite cool. So where'd you begin?
Sure. So if we think back right to the very, very beginning, which was probably when I started doing this public speaking and doing talks, and that was when I was 12, 13, and I was pretty sick as a kid. And once I'd sort of made it through my treatment, I wanted the opportunity to be able to give back and say thank you to all the charities that had supported me. I was obviously 12, so I had like $5 in my bank account. I couldn't donate to them. So my way of saying thank you was to do speeches at their events to raise money. And I loved that, and I loved seeing how telling a story could have a tangible impact. You know, tell a story, raise X amount of money. That money went to the charity to actually supporting people. Then over the years, I kept doing that, but I kind of didn't think about it as a career. I didn't think about it as my career pathway. So I started looking into things like politics, international relations. The goal was still the same, to help people, to support people, but I thought that that would be in human rights capacity. But I very quickly discovered that politics wasn't for me after my first semester of uni.
Why not?
It's just not for me. It's for some people, and it's brilliant that some people can do it, but I just was so bored, so incredibly bored, and I didn't have the background knowledge of the political intricacies of every country like everybody else in my course did. So after that first semester, I took some time off and I went traveling. I went to Vietnam and I was working as a communications specialist for Australian physios in Vietnamese communities. So my job was to communicate what these physios were doing to either the parents of the child, or in the orphanages that we were working in, it was the carers of the children, sort of explaining why they were doing things, and then communicating back to the physios different cultural standards or norms that, making sure that the physios weren't doing anything that was offensive to these people. So it was sort of a balance that we had to strike. There, I went traveling solo as well, and I met a few journalists, and then I realised, hey, this storytelling thing could actually be a career pathway. So I came back, studied journalism, and went back to uni, and pretty much straight away loved it. Loved telling stories, meeting people, being in the community, and I set my eye on becoming a Channel 7 reporter. So I pretty much just annoyed anybody and everybody that had any sort of connection to Channel 7.
Why Channel 7?
I don't know. I still don't know. I think it's because it's where I got my first introduction to a journalist, which was Edwina Bartholomew, who works on Sunrise. And I saw what she was doing, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So in my mind, Channel 7 was the place to do that.
Love that.
It got to the point where I was interning at uni, and my uni said, we're done with giving you intern insurance. You're going to have to go buy your own. So I had to go out and get insurance to pay for myself to go to these internships and work 5 days a week unpaid until I got the job, which did include a little stint as the cash cow on Channel 7, dressing up in the little cow suit and dancing around Martin Place. But I did get there eventually.
Career highlight.
And I did that for a couple of years, and then sort of pivoted from journalism into the space that I'm in now, just having more of an impact and telling stories that are important to me.
Did you see yourself having a career in journalism forever and going up through the ranks on TV?
I did. I sort of imagined myself either being a overseas correspondent or working on the desk of a morning breakfast show. But I loved being in the community and I loved telling stories, but I didn't necessarily love the types of stories that are hard-hitting news. I didn't love the fatal car crashes or the drug busts or those sorts of things that are pretty confronting for a 22-year-old living 8 hours away from home to be doing by themselves in a new community. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then just realised that actually I can still utilise these skills and do what I love, but in a different capacity.
I love the attitude piece that you mentioned early on, where you paid for insurances to continue working for free after it sounds like you'd already worked for free for quite a while, just to kind of keep making this work and make the dream possible. And even doing something like the cash cow, which were you keen to do that at the time, or were you like...
I mean, the 2 a.m. alarm clock was not fun, or arriving in the city as a 21-year-old when everybody else was going home from their nights out and you'd be on the same bus as going to work. That wasn't ideal. But I think I just saw the end goal of what I wanted to achieve. I knew that being a Channel 7 TV reporter was the goal, and every journalist I spoke to, and I spoke to a lot and annoyed a lot to get advice, they all said, show up, just keep showing up in front of the right people, prove that you're willing to do whatever it takes to be a journalist, because that's the skill that you actually need to be a journalist. And then right place, right time, the job will be there when you're ready.
Love that. We've spoken before that you moved away from the Gold Coast. That's how you kind of get your shot in reporting. You go to a smaller town, cover some of the stories, and you said it's quite competitive in terms of being first to the story.
Very competitive. So my first full-time position with Channel 7 was in Taree, which is probably the polar opposite of the lifestyle that I grew up with on the Gold Coast and in Sydney. So it was a little bit of a culture shock, but it's also the sort of place where every TV station has one journalist. So it's very competitive in the sense that you want to be the first person there to get the story so that you have that exclusive scoop, or so that you can get the story that helps catapult you to the next stage of your career so that you can move on to a place like the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, Sydney or Melbourne. So everybody there is fresh out of uni and they're doing whatever it takes to get the story.
How does it work then? Because in my head, I've got this vision of like, okay, you hear a story locally and you're like, right, everyone get there, get the cameras there. They're like, oh, it's Dave from bloody Channel 9 over there. Like, we've got to beat him to it. Is that the case?
That's exactly the case. My cameraman's name was actually Dave as well. So basically how it worked for me, I don't know how it worked for other journalists because you sort of find your own way to make it work, is I would wake up in the morning, turn on ABC News radio because that was the first news I could get in the mornings. I would call the police stations, the fire stations, and some key other contacts I had in the community to see if things had happened overnight, if there was any car crashes. I would check the court list to see if there was anything happening in court that day. Then from there, I would start getting ready, go into work and plan the 3 top stories that I had for the day. And I pitched those to my producer at 9 a.m. Once those are approved, then you spend the day sort of directing your cameraman to get all the footage that you need, getting all the interviews locked in, doing the interviews, writing the scripts, recording your scripts, sending them off to your producer. Mine was in Tamworth. And then most nights I would do a live cross at about 5:30.
That sounds like a cool life. Was it cool at the time? It
was cool. It was very cool. It was sort of, moving out of home, early 20s, just finished uni. I did feel like, wow, I've got a big girl job. It was pretty cool. And I definitely think as well from the experience that I had in some of the metro newsrooms, working in Sydney or even on the Gold Coast, I did see the appeal of the pathway. I did see why people stuck it out and stuck with it. It just happened that wasn't for me.
Yeah. Were there ever any situations, I know you mentioned some of the stories that you covered, like the drug busts where you felt quite uncomfortable. Were there ever any sticky situations you did get into and you just thought, do you know what, this isn't for me?
For me, it was probably the car accident. So Taree's on the M1. It's where a lot of trucks will stop, cars will stop on long road trips, and it's also a small community. So there was times where I was turning up to fatal car accidents and I knew the person that was in the car accident. And as a 20-something-year-old, that's pretty confronting to work out how to handle that, how to do the story and sort of maintain composure whilst looking after yourself and realising that it is an uncomfortable situation and it isn't a normal thing for people to be going through on a daily basis. So that was actually probably one of the biggest components that I struggled with in the job.
How did you develop that skill? I don't even know if it's to call it a skill, but did you see how you managed to improve how you handled those kind of situations as time went on, or was it still just as hard every single time?
It was probably still just as confronting every time. I think some people get better at it, but I wasn't very good at separating myself from the situation. I sort of, whether it was too much empathy or just too much feeling. We did get some support from producers, from other people, but being in a office essentially where you are the only person and it's just your cameraman, you don't have that support right there with you. It's far away, so it's more a message or a quick phone call.
Did you ever, early on when you first started getting in front of the camera, I'm sure you're quite comfortable doing it now, but I know in our football days you'd have like a pre-match routine or a warm-up, and that's kind of like, now I'm ready. Did you ever have one of those early on?
I did, in the sense that, I'm sure you're aware of the news voice, like the voice that TV reporters have. And so I did see, like most people, a voice coach to learn how to speak like that. So I had warm-up exercises that I would do before a live cross to get myself ready to speak in that voice. But I was probably quite lucky that the cameraman I worked with was very chilled. He was very laid back. So I never felt stressed because he always felt like he had all the time in the world. Even if we were racing on a deadline and had 7 minutes until the story was due, I never felt stressed. So that was definitely a bonus there.
The news voice. Any chance you can get a bit of a sniff?
Can we get your intro?
I tried the other day, and it's just been too many years that it just doesn't come out anymore. It did used to be my party trick. I would go out, in the small town after work on a Friday night, and that's the question everyone gives you. Can I have the news voice? What's the news voice? But it's, too far in the past now.
I thought I heard you doing something in the car park on your way in.
So then you kind of go, look, I don't think this is for me forever. What was the next step for you did you know you wanted to start a creative agency, or was it just to give it a crack? What was the thinking?
Essentially, no. I had no idea I was going to start a business. I came home from Tari at the end of 2019, and my goal was to do just freelance writing. So that meant articles for different media outlets. It meant advertising, copywriting for different businesses, but essentially just working by myself because I wanted the opportunity to go and travel. I wanted to be able to work overseas and be able to work from anywhere, still have an income and do what I loved. Obviously, a few months later, that's when COVID hit, so all my plans were put to a halt. Yeah. But what I did find is that once I started freelance writing and doing freelance strategies, my workload built up so quickly that I couldn't keep up with what I was doing. And I also recognized that I was providing them with one piece of the puzzle. I was providing them with the strategy and the copy, but then they were kind of on their own to implement that or relied on other people. So I wanted to be able to give them that full service experience so that they didn't feel left alone after phase one, and B, to be able to keep up with the workload that I had. So it was a bit of a natural transition to firstly, bringing in one person, working together, realizing, okay, I still can't keep up, there's still more coming, and then building the business from there. So it was more of an organic accident than it was anything else. But once I realized this is working, there's a demand here, I'm not the sort of person that wants to do things half-heartedly. So that's sort of doubled down on it then.
It's always nice, I think, when you start things like that without putting massive pressure and expectation on yourself to go and grow to a team of 20. You kind of get started, you go, okay, people quite like what I'm doing here, now I need to get extra help. And that's kind of how it's been at Harwell, to be honest. Like, we're pretty upfront. Me and Harv started Harwell just to earn good money, work 20 hours a week and sit on the beach for the other 20 hours. And that would have been us absolutely fine. But then I think as time went on and we got too busy, we were doing more work than we kind of wanted to do, or we were even doing in our old job, that's when we go, okay, great, let's start bringing people on. And now sitting on the beach for 20 hours a week seems like an absolute...
It's about 15 years away.
But, I absolutely love it. And I think it's that lack of expectation at the start that allowed us to grow so organically, because we weren't dying for people to work with us. If you wanted to, great. And if it was the right type of client, we'd absolutely love to. But you weren't there begging for people's work, which I think people can get that feeling, can't they?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I think you can repel people and turn them off with that almost desperateness. Don't know if that's the right word, but that desperate to grow, looking at purely vanity metrics. Like, I've got a team of 20. I think that can definitely dispel people.
How many have you got in the team now, Niamh?
So we are based across the Gold Coast and Sydney, and with strategists, writers, designers, developers, we're at 15.
Yeah, well, and the type of clients you work with, you work with two numpties, you started a recruitment agency, but who else do you work with?
We have clients across almost every industry, and last year we covered 5 continents. So we've covered a lot of geography. The core of businesses are startups. So we do have a lot of tech startups. We have a lot of businesses that are in fintech, health tech, that sort of space. But we've got clients in the wedding industry. We've got clients in mortgage broking, gyms, health and wellness brands. There's a lot of diversity, which myself and the team love, because it means no 2 days are ever the same. Even if we're doing websites for a week, every website is different. The design is different. The brand is different. So it keeps things fun and exciting so that we can keep providing value to our clients and not sort of rinsing and repeating the same copy and paste projects.
Do you have a dream client in terms of, like, not necessarily name a company or someone from an industry, but if a business came through your door, what would be the perfect person you want to work with?
And don't say us.
I already ticked. That's not a dream, it's a reality. I love working with clients that are passionate founders in industries that resonate with my interests and my lifestyle. So brands in the health and wellness space, or even just brands that are fast growing in a niche. I love growing with them. We can see the tangible impact that it has working with them on day one when they're a one-person team, 6 months down the track, 2 years down the track. And because we work with so many of our clients while they're raising capital, it's such a sprint for certain periods, and then we get to stand back and watch them reap the rewards of all of the hard work that they've put in. So that's really when I get excited, when we start chatting with people in that space.
That's awesome. Have you had to turn down clients or kind of cut ties with clients?
We've never cut ties, but I do say no to clients if I don't believe that we can provide them with tangible value. So obviously we can provide value to anyone in a branding, strategy, creative space, but I know where our areas of expertise lie. So if someone comes to us wanting a service that we could probably offer, or we could work it out as we go, I always say no. I would rather connect them with somebody in our network that does specialize in that space, because they're going to get 10 times better results. And that means that when they do need something that is in our area of expertise, they're not basing our reputation or the results that we deliver on a subpar service. Staying in our lane and focusing on what we do best is really at the core of every decision I make.
It's so valuable to be able to do that, and it's so hard early on when you just want business through the door. And I know we definitely experienced it, and we probably did take on some things early doors that weren't our bag, and probably did under deliver on it. So we learned quite quickly to go, hey, that's not us. Go and speak to these guys. Like when people ask for like a tech engineer or something like that, I'm like, no, that's not us. Go and chat to so and so up the road. And what we had to learn is that builds up such better respect. And like you say, when they do need something within your space, they'll come back and use you, because you weren't just selling to them for the sake of selling.
I do think there is a layer of respect with it as well, in somebody realizing, hey, this person's actually put their boundaries in place, recognize what they're good at, and they're not just saying yes to me because I'm paying them money. And that's when you do come time to pitching them a project that actually provides value, you've got that level of trust with them. And I also think that there's such power in networks. So often I'm recommending our clients to other businesses that are parallel to what we do. And I've got the mentality of what goes around comes around. So if I can connect a client with a partner, then maybe when that partner meets somebody that needs our services, they can send someone back the other way.
Absolutely love that. And that's what we spoke about early doors, that abundance mindset versus scarcity. There's plenty of work out there for everyone. There's plenty of good work too, as long as you're willing to give and share to kind of get that back as well. And it's the right kind of people you want to be working with. They've been referred on by someone you trust. They've obviously vouched for them, which means that they're probably a good person. They've got a good business. They think what you can offer them is in line with what they need. And it just gives you that really nice feeling, which I don't know how to put into tangible words, but there's some clients that we have at Harwell where I just love working with them and know that what their pain points are something that we really can help with. That fulfillment piece is so nice in business.
It is interesting. You mentioned before it being difficult earlier in your business journey. And I do agree that, when you're first getting started, if you have someone coming to you for a project, you're going to want to say yes, no matter what the project is, no matter what the price tag on the project is, you'll make it work. But I do think that there is value in learning that lesson early on, and hopefully not learning it the hard way, but sort of putting that in place early on, and the growth that can come from that will far exceed the growth that will come from saying yes to everything and everyone.
Yeah, I love that. Did your kind of vision and goals change quite quickly when you launched a business? Because I know with us, with Harwell, we were like, as said, day one, beach lifestyle. We were like jumping up and down in his kitchen, high-fiving when we got our first couple of fees through the door, thinking we can pay ourselves this month. Like, it's amazing. And then I think by month 10, we'd built a 7-figure business. And it's just like, you don't see it happening on a day-to-day basis. And we look back and we were like, what the fuck just happened? Did that happen? It sounds like you've gone through some quite quick growth.
Yeah, I definitely exceeded the goals that I set for myself quite early on. I mean, one of my first freelance clients was Facebook. And to have Facebook reaching out to me, requesting my services for a project was one of those moments where I was like, I actually thought it was fake. I ignored the email for a while, being like, this can't be real. Who is this lady called Josephine from Facebook? But having that experience and realizing that you never know who's watching was really eye-opening for me and really helped me set goals that were probably beyond what I actually felt I was capable of. And then also sharing those goals with other people. I was very private and almost embarrassed about my goals when I first started a business because I was like, all my friends work in 9-to-5 jobs. They don't run their own businesses. They'll think I'm crazy. They'll think this is so dumb. I just need to keep this to myself. But the more I shared it with people, the more I spoke about it. A, it constantly reminded me of what I was working towards and what I wanted to achieve. But B, it also helped open doors because I would tell somebody, hey, I'm wanting to work towards this. And they'd be like, oh, I should introduce you to this person. They'd be able to give you some advice on that. Or I want to do more projects in this space. Oh, actually, this person I know is really looking for somebody in that space. So I came to realize that if I didn't tell people what I wanted, nothing would ever happen. So I've become much better at actually vocalizing those things with people.
Yeah, that's bang on. I think we went through the same kind of thing where we only hung around with recruiters who worked for another agency. So they were kind of stuck in that kind of mindset of what can I take, right? What can my employer do for me? Rather than flipping it and being the business owner, you've got to go, okay, what can I kind of do for myself here? And one thing that was massive for us was probably being around people who've been there and done it, walk the walk, and probably could help us along the way. We're quite upfront and honest that we haven't reinvented the wheel with anything we've done. We might see things in different industries that we go, that looks really, really cool. How can we put a recruitment spin or a Harwell spin on it? Have you got kind of a group around you or mentors or people you work with and look up to who've helped you get to where you are?
When I first got started, I had a lot of mentors in the journalism space because that's what I'd focused so hard on building. And I did find that they actually did bring me a lot of value at the very beginning because they had insights into managing people. They were managing editors of newspapers or they were producers for TV stations. So they were able to provide insights on that layer. But I really struggled in not necessarily mentors, but just peers, people to be able to have a conversation with or talk about how shitty that week was or something that I was going through. So over the years, I've really focused on building that. And I do now have, it's still a very small and close-knit group, but I have people in different spaces, in different industries or in the same industry that I can reach out to, whether it's for advice or just an ear to rant to or somebody to bounce an idea backwards and forwards with. And even just talking to people in completely different industries. My parents run their own business and it's in the electrical space, so nothing to do with what I do at all. But they have experience running a business, managing people, paperwork, bookwork, all those sorts of things I had no idea about. That was worth its weight in gold in having somebody to be able to talk to about it. And then my partner being in a similar space, it was great having somebody to talk to there, but we also did have to learn where the boundaries are so that you're not still talking about work projects and bouncing around ideas at 11 p.m. in bed when you should be going to sleep.
Yeah, that's where we feel quite lucky that we've got each other. Because it's nice to have, because it's hard, isn't it? You have a massive win and my partner's been at home with our little one all day. You might have been an absolute little shit all day. And it's like I'm bowling through the door and just want to unload all these wins where it's like they're not on that same level. Yeah. So it's been great for us to have someone to do it alongside. How did you do it all on your own? Were there tough times?
There was definitely some isolating times or some lonely times, particularly when I was first getting started and I didn't have a team around me either. So it was just me in my parents' spare room, typing away on my laptop for 12 hours a day, every day. That was a pretty lonely and isolating period for the first part. Over time, I found that there was benefits to being by myself in that I like doing things and I like moving fast and working quickly. So I had that autonomy being, a single sole founder with no co-founder to be able to just do those things. But I sort of had to replace that with trusted people and trusted advisors so that I didn't just make decisions and run for it without actually getting an external perspective and thinking things through clearly. So there's been challenges and benefits. I still think today I'm glad that I did it myself. It brings like a sense of satisfaction that I know I can do that myself. But it reminds me of the importance of having people around me as well, and not just surface level how's your day?
Yeah.
What were you up to on the weekend? People who are great as well. Great to have friends that don't care at all what you're doing in business. But it was important for me to have people that at least understood running a business or running an agency.
I know one thing I've not struggled with, that's probably a bit strong, but sharing some of the shit days and sharing some of the problems that we have. To some people, they're not problems at all. They're like, we're really lucky to have that, which we are. But to say, you know, we lost a 20 grand deal or whatever because a fella turned the job down, it's quite insulting to say that to someone who's potentially earning $1,000 a week. They're kind of going, well, how dare you talk to me about that amount of money? I feel really weird about it because I'm like, it annoys me. I'm pissed off about that happened, but how do I share that with someone without trying to feel like you're rubbing it in their face a little bit?
Yeah, I've sort of established, you know, I've got friends in all different places doing all different things, and I've sort of learned that I have different friends for different reasons. I have some friends that I go to the gym with, get a coffee with, go for a swim with, but I don't necessarily need to talk about the nitty-gritty of my business, where I have other friends who skip the how are you and will go straight into the
What's your P&L?
deal that they lost this week, what's your profit margin, how are things going, in that sort of space. And at the start, I did struggle a little bit with the friends that didn't understand what I was doing, because I was like, don't you see how hard I'm working? Like, do you not see how many bills this income has to pay? Like, that 20K doesn't go straight into my pocket. You know, the tax man wants money, employees need money, rent needs to be paid. You know, at the end of the day, it's not 20K that I'm getting. But I just came to realize that, you know, not everybody needs to understand every single part of me. And it's actually really, really nice to have friends that couldn't care less what I'm doing. They're happy if I'm happy. And whether I'm profitable or not doesn't impact them.
Hi, I'm Yas Madbouli, founder and CEO of Serving Our People. Serving Our People is a general charity. We're a delivery and logistics charity that has started in 2020 to help with the pandemic and the disasters across the country. We are helping very largely in food insecurity. We've got 3 people's markets to help people to come and get much needed goods when they need it. We operate in Southeast Queensland and Northern New South Wales, and we're expanding beyond. Please come and support us on sop.org.au. And we're very thankful to be a partner with this amazing podcast.
I think that's an absolute golden nugget. Make sure you clip that one up, Mitchie. That one's perfect.
Going back to the early days launching the business, because I think we spoke about, you know, you make it, you're doing really well, and everyone just kind of thinks, oh, wow, you know, that's incredible. But they don't see the graph that goes into it. And even I experienced someone saying to me, oh, you know, yeah, but you're successful just because you're over there in Australia. You wouldn't be able to do that here. And I was just like, this is after I've just smashed out another 60-hour week, and I'm like, oh, come on. But anyway, I just left it. But what did you have to do early on as a sole trader, sat there pumping out hours?
Well, when I first started, I was everything. I was doing, it was mostly copywriting when I first got it started. So I would spend all day writing, but then I would also have to think, okay, this project pays for this week, but who's my client for next week? What's paying next week's bills? Bookkeeping, sending invoices. I mean, I did maths at school, but I don't understand bookkeeping. I don't understand lodging taxes, those sorts of things. So there was some huge hours involved where a lot of the client work actually got done after hours, because during the workday was when I needed to get the next project. So I'd spend 3/4 of the workday networking with people, sending out pitches, following up leads. Then it would come to 3-4 o'clock when most people were logging off, and I'd be like, all right, now let's start the work.
Stuck in.
I think a big lesson that I had at that point also was that one person can't do everything. I have my skills in the areas that I'm good at, and that's not bookkeeping. So I need to find somebody else to do this. I need to find somebody else to do my taxes for me, somebody that I trust so that I can focus on what I do well. So that was one of the first people that I hired, was somebody to do my finances. And I still prioritized my education in that space because it's important for me to understand what's happening, but it's not important for me to be sending invoices or following up unpaid invoices or preparing BAS statements. I'm not very good at it.
It's a lot of pressure hiding it by yourself. I know at Harwell, I think I'm head of marketing and I was head of IT. I might be the other way around.
Yeah, we don't know, actually.
Whoever can fix something, they're the head of that department in the business.
Sounds like a good theory.
Yeah.
But it's building a team around you, people who you trust and are way better at that thing than you are, is important. Like, we've got an awesome accountant who Harv knows from the gym, so we just trust her. And she goes, boy, this is what you need to do. Bang, bang. We've got coaches, Tucky, we've had on here, and you know as well, sales and communication coaching. Great, you're better than us better than us at that. How do we kind of learn from you? And putting that team around you, I think, is so important just to alleviate all the extra noise so you can do what you're good at, right? Which is hopefully for us recruitment, and for you it's creative design, creative marketing, and really bring value to your clients like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think anyone can be good at all those things. So if you do try and do all of it, you'll do them all to 50, 60, 70%. So you'll never be able to excel or grow at what you do because you'll never stand out. And even people that have the same skills, if they come from different backgrounds and have had different career pathways to get there, they'll have different perspectives, they'll have slightly different approaches or slightly different applications of those skills. And that's what I've found has been so beneficial for our business. You can have three writers, 3 of our writers at the moment. One's from a PR background, one's from a film and TV background, one's from a nursing background. Wow. The work that those 3 people deliver is so different, even working for the same company on the same client. So that it brings diversity, and that's really where we've been able to succeed as well.
I think going back to what Ad said as well, I don't think enough people look at their opportunity cost, and that's something we've been really passionate about doing. And I get an example that we come up with quite a lot is people don't want to pay a recruitment fee. So a business owner goes, well, I don't want to pay you 20K. I'm going to do it myself. But it's like when you actually sit down and look at the time that it's going to take that business owner to recruit this person and potentially still get it wrong, if they'd spent that time working on their business, the revenue they generate would be like 10x that. I mean, I've just helped a local business owner working on quite a high level role within their business, whilst he's spent a month going around the UK, Europe, America, launching new product. So it's like, yes, they're going to pay a decent fee to us, but the amount of revenue that trip will have generated, whilst he can just not worry about that, would be, I dread to think, to be honest. I think it would be in the millions.
That's it. It's value for money at the end of the day from that sense. And speaking of value for money, I probably want to take you for a bit of a ride here. So if I'm a new business owner, or we kind of still are, or if anyone else is the 100,000 people that watch every week, what would you say is the most important from a branding perspective and a marketing perspective? If I'm going to go from, I'm starting the company on Monday, what do I need to get in place? What are some of the foundations to be successful?
The number one biggest thing that we say to any business that we work with is don't just focus on where you are today and what you've done in the past, because if that is all you focus on, you'll never move forward. So you having a vision of what you're moving towards in 5 years' time, knowing that, articulating that, sharing that with your team is really worth its weight in gold, because you'll consistently be positioning your business like you're already there or propelling yourself in that direction so that clients, customers, potential leads, they see the vision and they don't see a gap between where you are now and where you're going. Because if they do, then why would they engage with you today? They'll wait till you get to where you're going, because you'll be a better business then. So having that vision, having that North Star, sharing it with the team, and then just being consistent. So not worrying if that first Instagram post you put up or the first 30 Instagram posts you put up get 2 likes. It doesn't matter, because you're putting that out there, you're growing. It's all about the compounding effect of it and the momentum that you're building. And over time, you will get there. If you stay consistent, if you've got that clarity, trust in the process, and realize that it's normal to get frustrated. It's normal to think, am I doing this wrong? Am I not going anywhere? Is this not right? But it's all part of the process.
Yeah, I can feel that. I know when we first launched this podcast and like on the Instagram, you check how many views the videos get. I'm like, that one got 2,000 views. How good's that? And then I think I looked the other day and it's like 250. I'm like, what is going on? But it's just that, keep doing the content every single day and hopefully it's going to come true.
Exactly. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, read books, and follow on social media different business owners from around the world. And a lot of them feel like, from my perspective, they've been overnight hits, overnight sensations, and they've just made it in such a short period of time. But when they start talking and you realize actually the runway for them to get to that point was months or years, and then all of a sudden it all clicked and things took off. I mean, Stephen Bartlett is somebody that I listen to quite a lot, and he talks about doing his first podcast episode, like I think it was under a doona in the basement of his house or his parents' house or something like that, putting it out there and it getting, a couple of views, single-digit views, and then just trusting in that process, staying consistent every week, putting them out there, and now he's one of the biggest podcasters in the world. So trusting in the process and knowing you'll get there is so hard but so valuable.
I think there's two parts to that as well. I think if you're doing it just to get to the end goal, you're probably a little bit rushed. Like you've got to enjoy every step, and you can't start a business today just, I'm going to graph for 5 years and then that's the finish point. I think you've got to look longer term, and you've got to really be a bit more present, because that's what's going to build the engagement and be able to help you be consistent rather than actually just waiting for the destination at the end. And I know
enjoy it as well.
Yeah, that's half the battle, right?
Yeah. Do you look back on those early days? Like I know we do, like when we were sat there in Ads' kitchen with our laptops, we kind of used to say to each other like, wow, when we've got a team and proper offices, like we'll always look back on these days and be like, this was awesome.
Yeah, it was, I was in my mum and dad's spare room. I'd just moved home. I definitely had days where I was like, have I made the wrong decision? I've thrown away the dream job. But, you don't realize it in that moment, but you do look back on it years later and think, how crazy that I was on a laptop on like a plank of wood between two bookshelves, sending away these pictures to Facebook being like, here's the work you need done. But, it also goes to show that you can't compare, because you don't know what anybody else is doing. You don't know where everybody else has been. So comparing will only slow you down and get you distracted from what you're actually doing.
So true. And I think the power of social media is you never know who's watching. I know there's so many, and I'm even bad for it myself. Like I'll watch some content and go, that's incredible. I won't necessarily like it or share it or send it to anyone. But in my brain, I know Stephen Bartlett, for example, he's an expert at what he does. And I'd like to think people not have done the same for us, but there's definitely people who've reached out to us or people that have engaged with us after a year, 6 months, or what it might be. And I've seen your journey from day one, but they've never liked anything. They've never messaged us. You just don't know who's watching, and the power of that impact, hey?
It's so true. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and post pretty regularly there. And, sometimes posts get quite a lot of likes. Sometimes posts don't really get any likes. And so often I'll go to networking events or even see friends that I haven't seen in a long time, and they've not been liking anything. They've not been commenting on anything, but that'll be one of the first questions they ask me. Oh, I saw you did this project for that person. How'd that go? Or look like you've been busy. How have things been going? And it just does go to show you don't know who's watching. And it does also mean, from a client business perspective, if you're showing up and you're constantly there and people are looking and engaging with your content, even if they're not liking it, when they do need your services, you'll be top of mind. You'll be the first person that they think of. So it has that long-term impact as well.
Yeah. The one thing that makes me laugh is Ads is very, very knowledgeable in the construction industry, and he puts out some really good content on LinkedIn in relation to that. But his top performing LinkedIn post, me doing a cartwheel down the beach. And you're like, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, it shows you're approachable, friendly, real people, and that's who people want to work with. It's great that you have the knowledge and the expertise. That's definitely a consideration in the process, but someone else can have the knowledge and expertise and that they just not be an enjoyable person to work with. So you've got to have the balance of the two.
And that's part of the magic of why we came and spoke to you. We go, the stupid shit we post gets the most engagement, but we don't want to be known as the guys that just post stupid shit, right? We want to be, nice and approachable and engaging people who actually know their stuff as well and are leaders within their space. So you really helped, I guess, map out different pillars, I think is the wording we use. Okay, how do we touch on every point? So yes, we're fun, but we also know our staff, but we also give back, but we also have product that we work with. So that was really, really powerful for us, and we're kind of just getting started on that journey now, aren't we?
And it's a hard line to balance sometimes, because it can be frustrating to put that post out that is not going to get the engagement, that's talking about, some thought leadership or some knowledge or some advice that you're offering. And it can be tempting to just keep posting the cartwheel videos because they're going to get the likes. But you do have to sort of hold yourself back, keep yourself accountable, and keep the balance of content in there too.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned early on you had a few days where you thought, have I made the right decision? Now you've built a team of 15 across the Gold Coast and Sydney, really, really successful. Do you ever still get days like that?
No. There are parts of Channel 7 and TV reporting that I miss. I miss, the adrenaline of doing live crosses, racing around, getting the stories for the day. But the excitement and enjoyment that I get from what I do now is 10 times more than I ever got from Channel 7. And I also know that if I ever changed my mind down the track, if I ever really missed what I'd previously done, I can go back. It's not going anywhere. I mean, okay, maybe the journalism industry is changing a lot since I'd been there, but I just find different ways and different opportunities to be able to utilize those skills and get that same enjoyment in what I do now. Us hosting workshops as a company or participating in events is for me a very similar experience to doing a live cross, speaking on camera. So I just have to find different ways, and the creativity that I get to use in a business sense is something that I was never able to do at Channel 7 and I didn't realize I wanted to be able to do, but once I started it, that's one of my favorite parts of the job is, what's next? How are we changing? How are we evolving? How are we making that more efficient? How are we optimizing this? And that's something that you just can't get working in a company like that.
Yeah, bang on. I think we're quite balanced in terms of our creativity, I think. We probably have peaks and troughs. Some days I'll come in, we go, mate, we've got to try this. Have a look at this. And on the flip side, you'll have your days as well. But I think we're quite different as well in the types of creativity we have, which really helps the business give a lot more of a balanced approach. How have you managed to kind of get that balance yourself when it's just one brain?
I am a big person for lists. I have always been a serial list maker since probably high school. And so I use an app called Todoist, and I put my jobs in at the start of the week or the start of the day, and I prioritize things in P1, P2, P3. So priority 1 has to happen today. Number 2 would be great if it happened. Number 3 is like, wow, this is a great day. And if I get to the end of the day and I've done all of my P3 things because they're fun and none of the P1s, I know that I need to shift the dial. So not every day works out, but at least that way I can keep myself accountable and not just sort of go with the flow, do whatever comes my way next. I'm quite structured and organized in that sense, and sort of create the list at the start of the day, review it each night ahead of the next day, and then on Friday, hopefully, I haven't had one of these days yet, but I'm hoping there's a Friday soon where everything is ticked off my list.
Tucky would love you if you just heard about the way you structured your list. I think mine is must-dos, probably should-dos, and would be really nice to do's.
I mean, pretty similar.
Yeah.
So we spoke about what you should do if you're starting a business and you want to be successful. What are some of the 2 or 3 mistakes that you've seen that people should really be aware of and try not to make happen as well?
One of the biggest mistakes we see is people trying to do everything. They see, if we're thinking from a digital online perspective, they see all of the platforms they have available. Oh, I've got LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, emails, websites. If you're trying to do all of that as a business owner, a small business owner, you are never going to be able to do all of them well, and you're not going to be able to stay consistent with them. So from my perspective and what we've found in the work that we've done and the results that we've seen is that it's more important to understand which platforms your audience are on and then devise a plan for those platforms and understand that you won't be doing every platform. But if you know why you're not doing TikTok or why you're not doing Instagram, it's far easier to keep your attention on your email marketing or the blogs on your website or whatever it may be. So prioritizing things, which probably is quite similar again to not comparing yourself. You don't know that other business owner might look like they're having win after win. They might look like they're growing so fast, but behind the doors, maybe they're struggling to pay their bills. Maybe they don't know where their next client's coming in. Maybe they just hate what they do. So you can't compare yourself to anybody else and try and copy other people or do things because other people are doing them, so you must do them. It's more about understanding what works for you and then keeping yourself accountable in that way.
Magic, absolute golden nugget. Yeah. That's another one for you, Mitch. Make sure you click that one.
No, I think it's so true. And like even within our vertical of recruitment, for example, it's being a specialist in your sector. Like Ads is the go-to man for construction. I'm the go-to man for finance. And again, there has been times in this journey where we've got the flexibility to step outside of that zone and it gets tempting and you do a little bit and you dip the toe in and then you lose focus and you feel like you're 2 steps further back. It's a nightmare.
And fulfillment as well. It's so nice being like you're of value to someone because of the years in the seat you've got and the network of people that you know. Whereas in going back to the start, I've had to go and move to a different location or I've had to recruit in a different field. I just wouldn't want to do it. I like feeling like I've got my shit together. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and you've spent the time refining your skills, building your toolkit. So it makes sense to utilize those skills rather than go, okay, I'm just going to leave that now and go back to square one with something else and spend all this time building that up when you've got something else that it would be far better to focus your attention on.
So what does the future look like for Niamh Sullivan in Fix?
I'm probably going to contradict myself here when I say I don't know what the 5-year plan is. For me, it's not about growing as big as we can. There's value for our clients in us being a small, nimble agency because they get that more personalized service and they're not just another run on the board for us. So for me, the goal is about finding like-minded, talented people in their disciplines. So writers, strategists, designers, developers, bringing them on board and creating opportunities that get them excited. The best results we achieve is when our team is excited about the project, they believe in the client, it's something that aligns with their personal interests. So really just doubling down on that and maintaining the transparency and communication with my team so that I know what they want to achieve, I know what new skills they want to build, and if I can focus on that and focus on our team and nurturing our team, I see that as investing in our audience because our team will deliver better results. We will attract more like-minded clients. Whereas if I focus just on the clients and just on bringing more clients on board, I would imagine that our turnover rate would be far higher than it is. We would be constantly looking for new people or pivoting, shifting, and not doing our job very well. So just focusing on our team, focusing on our office here and in Sydney, and just working with great clients. That's the goal.
Do you have a sweet spot in terms of like, okay, once we hit 30 people, that's us?
It's hard to say because I never thought I would have my own business. I watched my parents run their business. I was like, I don't want to borrow that. So I don't have a benchmark of what I'm working towards. I think I'll know when we get to a point where I'm like, this is really working. We're able to facilitate X amount of clients. And there are other projects that I want to work on as an individual, writing a book, doing these sorts of things. They're on my wish list, on my bucket list, but our business needs to be in a place where it's grown enough, there's enough systems, operations, people in place to be able to deliver the work so that I can focus on those things as well. So further down the track, writing a book is probably the biggest thing outside of Infix.
What about the people management side of it? Me and Harv's have now got a team of 7, including us. People management's not something me definitely Harv's kind of half in, half out and naturally built for or that good at. Harv's a bit more nurturing than I am. I can be a little bit straight and a little bit direct.
Bit of a knob.
bit of a knob, the team probably would say.
Good cop, bad cop?
Yeah, kind of.
He's all right.
But like going to a team of 30, for example, the number Harv's just said then, like that makes me shit myself because I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to connect with 30 people in the business. And I never want to lose that touch where I know and actually really care about everyone who works for us. And I know they care about the clients and it all really just feels quite good. Is there anything that you've done growing from 1 to 15 that's really managed to keep that magic?
What I struggled with the most at the beginning wasn't, having people on board and communicating with people and nurturing people. It was the probably management side in the sense of when things didn't go right. And, I'm not a naturally aggressive person or somebody that enjoys confrontation. So I really struggled with hey, okay, this person's done something wrong and I need to confront it. That was the most difficult thing. But I found that the relationship that I've developed with everybody on our team and that they have with each other is I try to make it as clear as possible that any feedback that comes back to them is for their benefit, it's for their growth, it's for their career. And whether their career is with Infix or with somebody else, for me, their growth is the most important thing. So really reinforcing that and making sure that I don't just recognize when they do the wrong thing. If someone's doing a really great job and delivering really great client work or really great internal projects, it's important to me that they know that. They know what they did right, the impact that it had, and that it's been noticed by myself, by other people. So really it's all come down to transparency and communication on the good and the bad, and just making sure that when the bad does crop up, that you're sensitive about it. It's not calling them out in front of everybody else or making it obvious to everybody else that something's gone wrong. I try to be as subtle and hidden away as possible so that they have the chance to process that without feeling a layer of embarrassment or something like that just adds to it and makes it uncomfortable for everybody involved.
I think the world of work's changing in terms of the way that we manage and we deal with people, for sure. I think gone are the old school days where I think back in the day people were just happy to have a job and they just cop it, wouldn't they, and just get on with it. Whereas now I think there's so much opportunity, and even people like us who've gone out and done our own thing, the people management side and keeping people happy and motivated is such a big element to it.
It really is. And if you can have good relationships with your staff, they'll enjoy what they do so much more. So it makes your life easier as well. For me, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but it is nice to see that the world has evolved more in that space. And I would say based on the clients that we work with, even, big national corporates, there isn't as strict or a sense of a hierarchy anymore in the way that it's top down, the person at the top telling everybody how something's done. We see a lot more collaboration, which is really great to see.
So what about AI? That's something that's very critical in your industry. You're definitely going to be quite prominent. Mm-hmm. How do you see that impacting your work? Is it something to be utilised? Is it something to be scared of? What's your kind of take on it?
I think it's one of the greatest assets that we have. If we think from a client work perspective, a lot of the work that we've done in the past has been really in-depth white papers on topics we have absolutely no idea about. So it might be a topic on AI in the biomechanical healthcare industry. That would take our team hours to research, whereas something like ChatGPT can be used to pull resources, provide information, fact check, really bring it all together into one place so that they can just focus on crafting the writing, crafting the piece, putting it all together. From a business perspective, I think it's such a tool that every business should be utilizing. Automating systems, optimizing what you do, analyzing what you do. There's so much that can be done. And I think most businesses are really only touching the surface. Mm-hmm. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole the other night looking at all of the ways you can optimize systems and automate things with different AI tools. There's people that are using AI to analyze their schedule for the day. The AI then provides a summary of each person that they're meeting with that day, some background information on them. That person can then go into their day equipped, know what they're doing, have all the information they need, and focus on doing better work. So there's tools like that which are just so incredible for business owners to be using.
It's definitely changing the world, isn't it? I think there's good ways to use it and bad ways to use it. Like I scroll through LinkedIn and I see some posts and I'm just like,
I know where this came from.
You've Googled, write me a recruiter post for LinkedIn and you've copied and pasted it.
Should you accept a counter offer?
Yeah, we definitely utilise it. Yeah. When we're struggling for creativity, if we're writing job ads and you feel like, because we recruit the same positions, you feel like you're just putting out the same job ad. Mm-hmm. We use it to mix things up. I've seen people using it to write their university assignments now. That is, yeah, because I don't think they'll be learning anything. So that, I think we'll see the recall of that in 5 years. But yeah, it's definitely streamlined some of our processes and the way we've worked.
Yeah, you're definitely right in that there is a right and a wrong way to use it. If you're using it to create all your content and everything that you share, the way AI works is that it's just scraping everything else that's out there, combining it into one and giving that to you. So you're just going to sound the same as everybody else. There's no point in that. You're not going to stand out. It's a post for the sake of it being a post and you may as well have done nothing. So it's about learning how you can use it to complement what you do, not replace what you do, in my opinion.
Have you seen the posts kicking around about like when AI are messaging like people in the recruitment space? And like say like, in your current job and you've put like career break, it'll be like, hi Adam, I hope your role at career break is going well.
We're looking for someone who's at career break. And it comes across as so icky, doesn't it? And it's so obvious. And you're right, there's definitely a place for it. But you can't just rely on that. Right? You can't just cheat your way through business. And I think people see straight through it these days. And I know for me, it's probably quite hard to come back from. If someone messaged me on LinkedIn and it was just so lazy and like that, I'm going like,
delete.
That's that, whereas someone's gone the other way and they've really taken time, even if it's nothing I'm interested in, it's nothing that's relevant for me, I'd still give them the time of day to go, mate, thanks for getting in touch, not for me, maybe see if I can help them, pass them on to the right person. I just value that, I guess, work ethic, but just that intent.
Yeah, and first impressions really do count. If you're pitching to somebody, if you're trying to do sales, if you're putting a bad foot forward first, it's so hard to come back from that. So sure, use it for other things. Use it for your research, your structuring, your information sorting, whatever it may be, but not for outbound sales.
Look, there's a bit of a tradition that we've got, Niamh. We ask every person now after this detailed chat about where you started, to where you've come from, to what the future looks like. If you go back to 12-year-old Niamh, 16-year-old, whatever it might be, what's a golden nugget of advice that you give her to help her along the journey?
Say yes to everything that comes your way. You may think you know where you're going, you may think you know what you're working towards, but other opportunities might come, and if you say no to things just because they aren't on what you thought was your predetermined pathway, you could miss out on the greatest opportunities of a lifetime that could completely transform what you're doing. And the other thing I would tell myself, which is something my dad has always told my sister and I, is a day without laughter is a day wasted. So if you're not enjoying what you do, if you're not having fun, what's the point? You might be making all the money in the world, but you're not going to be enjoying that money. So focus more on having fun and the rest will come.
The rest comes around. Bang
There
on.
you go. Heard it here first. Yeah. No, that was fun. I like that one. I think, we've had the pleasure of working with Niamh and her team as well. It's been awesome for us, and that we've got things in the pipeline that will be making us even better. So we'll make sure that we plug your business accounts and personal accounts and all the content, so hopefully people can come and find you.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us, Niamh. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.